So what we're doing here is we're digging down a shovelful and popping the dirt. Then we take the come along and knock the dirt out of the bottom of the grass roots. Throw the dirt on the yellow tarp. Put the grass in the basket. And once we get back to the spray painted line, start bringing over the rocks. Please come along. Stay tuned. Pull the hunks of dirt out, and while you're picking at them, knock the dirt off the back of the roots. And yeah, see how that works? Give it a couple of whacks. Now we just simply go back and pull the grass out of the pile of dirt, and then we got clean dirt. Because we're going to have a multi-tier flower bed here when we're done. So we're just going to process the job site, so to speak, and then you know, get it down to subgrade and then build it back up. And we'll put the dirt that's on the tarp back in the second tier. But it won't be hard with this tarp like this. It's kind of a great thing to do. You put your dirt on the tarp, and then now you just throw the dirt out of the way on the tarp. You don't have to worry about killing the grass. That's the part I like the most. You know, clean up your work area real easy. You're not stepping on it. Yeah, the tarp. I highly suggest the tarp. You're just coming. Put it on your work area, on the sidewalk. We process it. Roots out. Because again, we're trying to get this low for a multi-tiered flower bed. Randall's decided this little hand pick he might prefer more than the come along to process the grass, get it out of the dirt. Got the grass processed out. Now again, just toss the dirt out of the way. It's again, the tarp's the ticket. Alright, so now we're back another row. We switched to the shooter since Randall don't weigh near as much as me. Shooter's got less blade width, lighter weight. Person would be better off using a skinnier shooter. That's what they call that, a shooter, sharpshooter. All right, folks, here is the remnants of like a tree that died, a bush that died, I want to say 15 years ago. And the roots are all rotten. And if you look real close, you can see little bits of wood in there. That's nature's potting soil, folks. You get your hands on some of this, you keep it and put it to the side when you're potting plants. So like I was saying, folks, this stuff here we're going to take back to the house for some planting. So I weigh like 239. Actually, I know that's not about. And Randall's, he's about $150. So it's better for me to do the cutting and him to do the dragging. All right, folks, so we're almost done with demo. processing the last bit of grass out of the dirt. And we'll get the sidewalk cleared off, so when we go take lunch, if somebody's walking down a sidewalk, that they can still use the sidewalk, because it's a public sidewalk. So you always got to think about safety first. All right, y'all, stay tuned. We're going to take lunch, and we'll be back. Start putting in some rocks. Thanks for watching. All right, folks, I got another tip for you. What we did is we put the grass in first, and then we put our wood and our roots and our stuff that we pulled up out of the ground, so it doesn't poke through the bottom of the bag. I don't know. That's the way I like to do it. Hey y'all, okay, so we did us a little path right here. We decided to leave some of this dirt because it's gonna go right here after we put some of the rocks in. And then we've obviously got our dirt here. But yeah, lunchtime, stay tuned. So what we got our rocks staged here. What we think's gonna work. And we're just taking the little pick and going along the edge of the sidewalk and just trying to get it cleaned out, because we want these towed in like an inch. We tow these things in an inch, they'll stay. I've had some in my yard for going on 10 years. So you take the time to do that and it works out. All right, so let's see how some of these stones fit. We kind of dry fit them a little. Okay, so now we're going to start setting these rocks in place. Some of our loose dirt here, we'll pack in behind it when we splice them together like we like. And it's nice processed dirt. It's been broke down like when we were getting the grass out of it, so it compacts real nice. It's easy to work with. And just, you know, one rock at a time, pack it in a little. Go for another rock. If you start to get dirt in front of it, you might block your hole, you know? Yeah, here we just slide these together. Just, it's kind of an art, you know, fitting rocks together. And do a little backfill as we go. And then we'll come through and fill all this back to grade when we're done. Stay tuned. All right, so I like to use this little pick to do my backfill behind these rocks. Just gets down in there real nice. There's really just, I mean, a steel finger with a handle on it. It really, it just does the job. And down here at the corner, I'm going to start bringing rocks up. Around the front, and we got some more rocks back of the yard. So all right, so we got these rocks just about backfilled, and then we're gonna go get our bigger rocks for our second tier, because this is gonna wind up being a 2-tier build here, because the yard goes up really fast, and you know, we're trying to make it easier to mow, and just, you know, more opportunity for landscape. Stay tuned. So here's the crazy thing, folks. I've been dragging these rocks home for years. Like these rocks that we got right here, I brought them 10 years ago, and they match these other rocks. I didn't think I'd be selling them to the neighbor, but hey, there you go. And then another funny thing is that Randall loaded these from my truck to the pile 10 years ago And now this is his project that we're doing here, and he's getting to actually reap the benefits. Y'all stay tuned. All right, so guys, we got our front bed established, our second tier established. Now we're going to be going around the back side. Got another load of these red Oklahoma stones. Gonna go across the back. It's really starting to come together. Look like something. All right, y'all stay tuned. All right, so now we've created our upper tier, and now we got a bunch of backfill. Now you might be asking, well, why'd you take all the dirt out if you're putting it back? Well, for one, we had to get rid of the grass, and the grass is a big chunk, and it's about 6 inches thick when you try to get it out. And when I go to put a bunch of plants in here, this dirt now has been reworked and is very loose, and the plants will grow easily in this bed. So anyway, stay tuned. All right, so we're still doing some backfill. We got the first layer packed in. Do it in layers. We call them lifts. So we did a 6-inch lift and we walked it in, and now we're doing another, probably a 3-inch lift and walk it in. Stay tuned. Almost there, folks. All we're going to do today is establish flower beds. We'll do plantings tomorrow. All right, y'all stay tuned. Scott Ferguson here, things like that. So we went and cleaned up and kicked our butt today. But I'm fixing to show you what it looked like after we rinsed it off and dried out. So the sun's gone down, and you can get a better look at this flower bed that me and my son did today. We had multiple different elevations of yards coming together here, and there was an old flower bed here from 40 years ago that held back some dirt and made the yard high. So we were trying to deal with different changing elevations, and that's how we did it. We still got to pack some dirt in around the outside of this. I put those rocks down in the bottom. You'll barely see them when we're done. But anyway, Scott Ferguson, things like that. Weekend Warriors. Weekend flower bed. Stay tuned. All right, guys. So we just got back from Home Depot. We got a bag of mulch, and we got 3 bags of gravel. Mulch is going to go up here where it's flat, and the gravel is going to go here where it's on an angle, so when it rains it won't wash out. And we got it's going to be kind of our mulch and our pea gravel, river rock. We're going to see if 3 bags does it. If it doesn't, we'll go back and get 1 more. So we brought some plants over. Now they're transplants. Everything you see there, except for the bottom one on the left, is a transplant. So we dug them up, and we potted them, and then we let them set. Watered them, added dirt, so they wouldn't go into shock. So far everything's looking quite well. This one here, it's got little leaves, it's showing little signs. We get it back in the ground, and it'll work out. So there we are, we're staging our plants. Always stage your plants first. You can move them around a lot easier if they're not dug in the ground. Y'all stay tuned. All right, so what we're doing now, guys, is we're got a little spray paint and we're marking where the plants were. I know you're going to say, you got to mark them. It's easy to forget exactly where you thought you wanted them. And then we're going to start from the high and work to the low. That way we don't trample the plants here on the lower side. So again, lay your plants out, mark your plants, and then work from high to low if you can. So yeah, it only takes a few minutes with the spray paint, and it really just makes things a whole lot easier later. And you can mark the size of hole you think you need to dig. So we have different size circles for different size pots, you know. All right guys, so here we are. We're digging our holes, and we're over digging our holes so that when we do the transplant, the plants have some nice loose dirt to start their new home, their new growth. And then we've also got some potting soil back there. We'll put it at the bottom of the hole, around the sides. And then I like to cap off with the dirt from the existing job site, so it binds with the surrounding dirt. If you come all the way to the top with topsoil, sometimes it washes out. So again, I like to just do the last inch or so with existing conditions dirt. All right, so we got a little potting soil going in. Again, it's got bioorganisms in it that just help the roots, makes them happy. Now, you know, we potted these. We're trying to take them all out as one, you know, pile of dirt. So tip it upside down, hold it, tip it, pull it, and flip it. Perfect. All right, so now adjust it. There you go. Backfill with a little topsoil. Yeah, now's the time to prune out any old weeds or something that came from where its old home. The little grass that used to grow, little vines, he's getting it all out of there. We don't want to transplant any unwanted growth. He's doing a fine job. It's amazing how much little stuff was actually in there that we didn't want. A little bit more topsoil. And then pull in some of that outside dirt, cap it off. Just loosely right now. We're not trying to pack it all in. We're going to soak it with water in a bit, and then all the air will come out of the dirt. And because you don't want any air trapped around the roots on a transplant. That's the worst thing that can happen, is air getting to the roots. So what we'll do is we'll just backfill that lightly. We know that we've got plenty of dirt here, and all we're trying to do right now is get the plants back underground and lessen the opportunity for them to get air on them during the transplant. Now we're also going to hit them with a little water. Now if your hose has been laid in the yard for half an hour, heck, even 10 minutes, the sun will heat that hose up and the water coming out of the hose will be scalding hot. Just think of your underfloor heating system. It's the same thing. So always remember, turn your hose on and feel the water until it's not hot. You know, maybe you can water a bush or something that could handle a blast of hot water, but it could be actually scalding hot. So be careful. Okay, so now that we've got the water cooled off, we're just going to water the root ball. Just again, trying to get the air out. And you should periodically when you're transplanting plants, if you have the ability to have the hose handy, is water them and come back in 5 minutes and just give them another little drink. You know, just the shock. Plants go into shock, so we're trying to just keep the plant from going into shock is our basic goal here. And water is the key, and no air. Okay, so here we go. On to the next plant. A little topsoil in there. And remember, grab, turn upside down. Now these roots that are on the bottom, give them a little, grab them, tear them a little. Yeah, agitates them. Okay, there you go. Drop it in. And you move the bag of potting soil with you. No sense in leaving a trail of potting soil across the yard, and you need it within arm's reach, because he's holding the plant with one hand and stabilizing it and holding the leaves back. So move the bag of potting soil. It's worth it. It makes things go so much easier. So now we're going to transplant some grass. Some of these grasses, they really don't have a root ball. And if you can dig up the plant, put it in a pot and let it sit for 2 weeks, if you were planning to do the transplant, that's the best thing to do. But this, we didn't necessarily know we were going to be doing this. The neighbor asked if we could build something to match that we did on the other side, and we said, well, sure. So this was, we only had yesterday morning to really start thinking about this. But that's okay. It's all good. Top tier. So now it's time to straighten up your work area. We're working out here in the wind today, unfortunately. So we're done on top. Let's clean up and we'll move to the bottom. And move our tools, move the dirt, and move everything. To water. Just a light watering. Just soak down the root ball. Again, you're trying to get the dirt to collapse. I'm sure you've seen after a rain somewhere where there'll just be this ditch out in the middle of nowhere. But it rained and must have been a pocket or something, and the dirt will collapse and it'll shrink down. And water will do that. So you soak it down and it settles underground around the root ball and gets the air out. All right, so we moved shop. Actually, I cut my tarp in half. Should have done that years ago. So I have a place to store some dirt. Now I have another place for a work surface area. So we'll pre-dig these holes and then and do the same as we did up on top. Stay tuned. Now, if you remember from yesterday or earlier on in this video, this area didn't get pre-dug as did this area up here. This area went much better, much quicker. So Randall's having a much harder time over digging our holes on this bottom side. But I mean, just get after it a little bit at a time. Don't try to kill yourself. One shovelful at a time, one step at a time. So here, for instance, we are moving a plant, but we're going to go ahead and mark the hole again with spray paint, just so we dig the right size hole. We don't, want to spend any more time out here than we need to. I mean, so, but yeah, remark the hole if you're going to move a plant, and we're just trying to keep that same distance off the wall. So, yeah, you might move plants 3 or 4 times before it's over. So then when you have smaller holes, we had this little deal. You turn it upside down, the dirt falls out the bottom side, and it has little teeth on it, and you spin it. Pulls out a plug. And they actually don't work too bad. You've probably seen them at the store, thought, yeah, whatever, those things don't do anything. But look at that. And let me tell you, that was not the nicest of ground. You watched Randall try to dig that hole on the other side. So this one's not a big plant. I mean, it's such a tiny little replant. So again, sometimes these little tools aren't too bad. You choose. So we're down to our last hole here. I say our last hole. There's one little hole in the front that we'll use our little tool for. But so we got a crepe myrtle going in here. That's right here. Now this is a last year transplant, and it came back after the winter, and so I feel real good about this health of this plant. They've got a crepe myrtle on the other side of their yard, so this will go real nice. I'm trying to get it back off the sidewalk a little bit so that the roots don't interfere with our hardscape. We'll get the root ball down below the sidewalk actually, and that'll be good. So we found some rebar and some boards from our old flower bed that used to be here. He says no. We're gonna have to get a tool. We cleaned up to take a break, and what we did is we took our plants and we put them in the shade. You know, take a minute, and I watered them too. So I took them, watered them, took them and put them in the shade. Cleaned up our tools since we are working out on the sidewalk, and so now we're fixing to get after it. Got a little potting soil going in, and just checking the height, see how it's going to come out later. That looks good. Maybe pick the backside up a little, lean it forward because it is a hill, so you might have to lean the plant just a little. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here we go. We got a little potting soil going in. We've checked the height, and then we're going to come in, like I said, potting soil around the root ball, and then some of the existing conditions, dirt I like to call it, to do a little cap, and we'll proceed on to the next few plants. All right, so now we're doing some water, and remember, hot hose. The water gets hot quick. So we've planted these 3 plants, and then now again we're going to give them a drink. Now we've got our elephant ears, and this is the transplant that I'm probably most worried about. I mean, it's a pretty hardy plant, but so we're going to give it a lot of potting soil, probably more than the others, just because it's going to need it. All right, so again, turn it upside down, squeeze the bottom. Now we made that root ball because we transplanted it, and to keep it from going into shock. So as soon as we pulled it out of the ground, we transplanted it and put it right into another pot. And we didn't leave it on the ground. We didn't, you know, we just immediately did it. So that's the key to a transplant. Pull it out of the ground, put it in a pot, and water it. So here we got our crepe myrtle going in on the end. It'll grow up tall and kind of define the corner of the yard. And they've got a crepe myrtle on the other side, so it'll go well. Now we got this one little plant to do with our little tool here. And this is what this tool is actually made for, this size plant. You just do 1 screw and you drop the plant in. Unless Randall thinks it needs another one. Yeah. Little topsoil. And there you go. Just like that. Rake. And we're going to rake out a little bit of dirt. And then put the rocks in. But you're like, well, why you put in the dirt? Take out the dirt, put in the dirt. You know, again, this is all custom creations going on here. You know, you put in the rocks, you set the rocks, you pack them in, get everything stable where you want. Plant the plants, get the plants in how you want them. And then, and now we're cleaning out for the gravel. Got the tarp pulled up next to the sidewalk, keep from making a mess, or at least a contained mess. We've raked back some dirt. We've got our tarp, and this is why I love the tarp. You know, you got dirt in the way, you just drag it out of the way. It just really works well, especially when the project's, you know, got a small work area. So now we're gonna rinse. We'll rinse this down again later, but right now, yeah, the top's pretty good. And again, we're just trying to set the dirt a little. One last opportunity to pack in around the plants. I keep preaching about getting the air away from the roots. Just keep moving across the area. Here you can see the water dripping out of the flower bed. And then right here I've got another spot where it's low. That's on purpose. I want the flower bed to have little places where the water can get out. So when we put our stones in there, it'll work out great. You'll see. All right, so there it is. It's been rinsed. It's kind of setting, resting. Like I said, we're trying to trap some water underneath there, so it's soaking into the ground right now. And we don't want to put the rocks in mud, so we're gonna let it dry for like a half an hour, clean up some tools, and get back at it. Stay tuned. All right, so we just talked to the neighbors. They said lose the bush. It's their bush. They didn't necessarily take care of it, didn't water it. So now the new focal point of the corner of their yard is now this flower bed, because that is the corner of their yard too. So talk to your neighbors and they might be on board for something. I told her that I'd rake this out and make it look pretty. Folks, there we have it. We're going to take like an hour break. So we got sidewalk cleaned up, hose down at least a decent part of it so it's not muddy, and took the first load of dirt out of here, and we're going to just put it in a flower bed in another part of the yard. Just drug it out with the tarp, and then again, like I said, we're just letting this soil set a little bit, and we'll be back to put the stones in about an hour. Stay tuned. All right guys, so now we're pulling in some mulch. This is really going to set this off on top. I like the red myself. It's tropical-ish looking, but still rustic. You can mix it both ways. We have it in the backyard as tropical. The front yard is western, I guess you might call it. Yeah, so I was mixing the white rocks and the red rocks. It's like layers of the earth was my goal. That's what we did over at my house. And I really think we do have a good collection of earth landscaping here. Yeah, so here we go. We got the top mulch. Randall's fixing to come down here and grab a bag of river rocks, and we are going to start working our way down here with the river rock. Y'all stay tuned. Okay, Randall's going to start pouring in some gravel here, trying not to break the plants. And look how it's just changing. Look at that. The red on top, the river rocks on the bottom. We got the contrast going on. It's immediate satisfaction, folks. Landscaping. I mean, 1 minute it's dirt. 2 days later, you have this beautiful landscape. I suggest everybody try landscaping. All right, y'all stay tuned. All right, guys, look at this. Look at the final stretch. Oh man, look at that. All right, y'all, so I chose no filter fabric on this project because everything here is a transplant. And when we water this, I want the plants to take. And I told the homeowner that we'll come back, since I live next door, in a month or two, and we'll rake out the rocks and we'll put the filter fabric in then. But right now, we're just going with the rocks to let the water in, and so it can breathe better and whatnot. So again, eventually we'll go with the filter fabric, but just for the next month or two, we're just going to go like this. Okay, so it's day 3 in the morning. Come and see how the plants took the the transplant, and everybody seems to be pretty happy. This one on the top here on the corner, the leaves are coming back. They were a little droopy yesterday. The grass, those are tough to transplant, people. But it just really, if it grows in nice like it should be, that'll look good. Right. It's a problem with transplanting. You just don't always know. But the budget was low on this, and you know, we just he's a neighbor, trying to help him out. So again, Scott Ferguson, things like that. Weekend warriors, flower beds. More to come. All right, so we just gave him a little water. Rinse down the rocks again. It probably takes like 3 or 4 times at least to get the rocks rinsed off and the dirt that's on them, because they are river rocks. They come from a riverbed, in a quarry, in a pit, and they're dirty. So you can expect to rinse river rocks multiple times before you actually ever see the true color of them. So we are, day after. The sidewalk, it was all muddy. We let that dry overnight. We got the flat shovel, the broom, came in, cleaned it up, and gave it everything another watering. Now it's always important to use the hard rake to go around all your work area that you worked and stand the grass back up, because it's been trampled underfoot, and you can kind of see there's a couple of areas that you know got damaged. So we'll water those areas a little bit extra hard, and like I was saying yesterday on the update, that water the work area, the whole work area, because it all got damaged. All right, guys, so it looks like our transplants are holding up. It's been a couple days in the ground now, and well, I'm really proud of this one. So we busted out the edger, trimmed up the sidewalks a little bit. After we raked it, had all the grass standing up, we went ahead and cut the grass, mulched some of the grass down into itself, and now we'll water it in again. So it's really coming together. Scott Ferguson, things like that. Weekend warriors. Neighbor's flower bed. Thanks for watching. Y'all stay tuned.